You're scrolling through your bank app late at night, not because you want to, but because you're doing that thing again where you check your balance, hoping it's somehow changed since this morning. You see your savings, maybe a few thousand, maybe less, maybe a little more if you've been disciplined lately, and then your brain does the math. $1 million, that number feels ridiculous, like something reserved for tech founders, lottery winners, or people who somehow understood money way earlier than you did. So you quietly make an assumption most people never even question: I'll probably never be a millionaire. And honestly, that belief right there is the real problem. Because what if becoming a millionaire didn't require millions of dollars in effort? What if, mathematically, you only needed about $200,000? Yeah, I know, that sounds fake. But stay with me. My name is Nico. Spend way too much time thinking about how money actually grows, not how social media pretends it grows. If you're someone who feels like investing success is reserved for people earning six figures or starting with huge amounts of cash, hit subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, because this is exactly what we're fixing today. Here's the thing. Most people think becoming a millionaire is about earning more money. It's not. It's about understanding time, compounding, and, honestly, human psychology. Now look, when people hear millionaire, they imagine saving $1 million directly. That sounds impossible because it basically is for the average person relying only on savings. But investing changes the equation completely. Let's start with a simple idea. The stock market historically has returned about 10% per year on average before inflation. After inflation, you're looking at roughly 7% real returns. That's not a guess. That's based on nearly a century of market data from major indexes. And here's what most people don't realize. Compounding doesn't grow linearly. It grows invisibly until suddenly it doesn't. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you invest money consistently and eventually build an investment portfolio worth $200,000. For most people, that sounds like the halfway point to becoming wealthy. But mathematically, that's closer to the beginning of exponential growth. At a 7% average annual return, $200,000 doubles roughly every 10 years. So your $200,000 becomes $400,000, then $800,000. Then about $1.6 million without adding another dollar. This is where it gets interesting. The first $200,000 is doing almost all the hard work, because building that first chunk requires discipline, sacrifice, and consistency, while your investments barely seem to move. But once compounding takes over, time starts working harder than you do. And psychologically, this completely messes with people, because humans are terrible at understanding exponential growth. We expect effort and reward to feel proportional. You work harder implies you see bigger results, but investing doesn't behave that way. For years, progress feels slow and honestly kind of disappointing. Then suddenly, growth accelerates, and most people quit right before that acceleration happens. Now you might be thinking, okay, Nick, but $200,000 still sounds like a massive amount of money. And yeah, it is. But here's where perspective changes everything. Let's break it down realistically. If someone invests $500 per month, not easy, but achievable for many households over time, at a 7% annual return, they reach about $200,000 in roughly 17 years. 17 years sounds long until you realize most people work for 40+ years anyway. And here's the shocking part. After those first 17 years, the next $800,000 can happen faster than the first $200,000 did. That feels backwards, but it's exactly how compounding works. Here's a metaphor. Imagine pushing a massive flywheel. At first, it barely moves. Every push feels pointless. You question whether it's even working. That's the first decade of investing. Then slowly, momentum builds. Eventually, the wheel spins almost on its own. And now small pushes create huge motion. Your investments become the flywheel, and your earlier discipline becomes momentum. Here's what most people don't realize. The biggest obstacle to becoming a millionaire isn't income, it's impatience. Studies from behavioral finance research show investors consistently underperform the market by several percentage points annually, not because they pick bad investments, but because they panic, stop investing, or chase trends. They buy when things feel safe, they sell when things feel scary, which is exactly backwards. Psychologically, we're wired for survival, not wealth building. When markets drop, your brain interprets it like danger, but mathematically, market drops are the periods when future returns are often strongest. And this is why the $200,000 milestone matters so much, because once your portfolio reaches that size, normal market growth starts producing results that feel meaningful. A 7% return on $5,000 is $350. You barely notice it. A 7% return on $200,000 is $14,000 in a year. Now your money is contributing like a second income stream. And this is the moment most investors finally understand compounding emotionally, not just intellectually. Now you might be thinking, But what if I start late? Good question, because time matters, but consistency matters more than perfection. Someone investing aggressively for 15 to 20 focused years can still build substantial wealth because the majority of investment growth happens in later years anyway. In fact, analysis of long-term portfolios shows that more than half of total gains often occur in the final third of the investing timeline, meaning the payoff is heavily backloaded. Again, psychologically unfair, mathematically inevitable. So let's talk about what actually gets someone to that first $200,000. Not motivation, not stock-picking genius, systems, automatic investing, low-cost index funds, consistency during boring years, and avoiding the 3 mistakes that destroy compounding. First, stopping contributions during market downturns. Second, constantly switching investments chasing performance. And third, and this one hurts, increasing lifestyle spending every time income rises. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't fail to build wealth because they earn too little. They fail because their lifestyle grows at the same speed as their income. Every raise disappears into a nicer car, bigger rent, more subscriptions, more convenience, and slowly the money that could have become a compounding engine never gets started. Here's the thing. Wealth doesn't come from dramatic financial moves. It comes from boring consistency applied long enough that math takes over, and once you hit that $200,000 mark, something powerful happens psychologically too. You stop feeling like investing is a sacrifice. You start seeing progress. Your identity shifts from someone trying to save to someone whose money works, and identity changes behavior permanently. You become less reactive, less emotional, more patient, because now you've seen proof. So what should you actually do starting today? Automate investing so decisions disappear. Increase contributions whenever income increases, even slightly. Focus on time in the market, not timing the market. And most importantly, redefine success. Your goal isn't becoming a millionaire overnight. Your goal is reaching escape velocity, that first $200,000, because once you're there, compounding becomes your partner instead of your uphill battle. And this is the part nobody talks about enough. Becoming wealthy often feels boring while it's happening. There's no dramatic moment, no fireworks, just years of consistency followed by a quiet realization one day that your investments are growing faster than your contributions ever did. And suddenly, the $1 million milestone doesn't look impossible anymore. It looks inevitable. So if you've ever felt behind financially or assumed wealth required extraordinary income or luck, remember this. You don't need $1 million effort. You need a system strong enough to reach the point where math starts doing the heavy lifting. Because what if $200,000 really was the hardest part, and everything after that was just time doing what time has always done, rewarding patience? And honestly, that should feel incredibly hopeful.